There's plenty more cricket coming your way. Might be 2 points for them, but what about Chennai? We haven't forgotten about them. They haven't played for a while. We hope they haven't forgotten all about it. They are taking on a team who have been pretty much well-oiled and giving it everything. But, Stephen Fleming seems to think that the break will have done them good. They're off to Dubai to take on Hyderabad. Let's see what our panel thinks early on in terms of the break. How would you assess a break, Pommy? I mean, sometimes it can be a good thing, and Fleming maybe is putting on a brave face, but sometimes you don't want to get too rusty. We've already had 6 months off the game.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear where you're coming from. I think, though, with the way that the tournament started, and I think they had, 3 games in 7 days, or might have been 6 days, actually. It was 7 days, yeah. So it was all too quick. And Stephen Fleming makes a valid point in saying there's a case for having to be the ones who play at the 3 different venues as the first team playing, because you must now assess what you ought to do and assess it and be on point. If you're not, then you could end up on the wrong side of those games. And that's fair enough as a comment. With regard to having the break, the issue for me is that people get fit again. I think that's, having played a couple of games, everyone you can pick from your whole squad and you can go again with some knowledge, having watched some other teams, and there's sufficient experience in that side for them to have gleaned quite a lot from watching the few games over the days that they've had off.
Sean, the first name that obviously comes to mind is Ambati Rayudu, impact player at the top of the order for Chennai, and if they'd had one more game very close to those first 3, he might not still have been fit, but he is fit now, and that's going to be a huge inclusion for them.
Yeah, and not only will he be fit, he'll be properly fit. Sometimes you rush people back and they 80% and they can do some more damage. So with this extended break, I'm sure he'll be 100%. We'll wait and see what happens with Bravo. But I think he's been a big player, hasn't he? There was a graphic that came up, I think it was in their 2nd or 3rd game, that he is the leading run scorer in the last 2 seasons, if you add up all the innings in the RPL. So he is a man that they have relied on. He's got a wealth of experience, and he's a good player. The other person, I know I've seen him perform so well over the years, but Imran Tahir would be someone who I would think they've got to consider. We've seen some spinners perform, even today, Bishnu and Chahar. What is it about their performances that have been good is that the pace they bowl at and that the length that they hit, it hits the top of the stumps. And spinners these days can't give it too much air. The batsmen stay in their crease, they back themselves, if it's slightly over pitch, they just whack through the line, and invariably they clear these boundaries. Imran Tahir, what me and Pommy have seen him do for over all the years that we've watched him for South Africa, is his length is impeccable. And it doesn't matter if it's a South African condition or a subcontinent condition. He hits the top of those stumps, bowls nice and straight, gives nothing away. And I think that's what they've been lacking. I know they've gone to Chala, and I don't think he's the kind of guy. I think they can build some more pressure in the middle with Imran Tahir. So I think there would have been some discussion about that, and we have to wait and see if they decide to go that way.
The big question is, I think it's a no-brainer he has to come in. The big question, in whose place? Sam Curran has shown that he's sort of holding on to that place that DJ Bravo sort of vacated for him. Josh Hazelwood's bowled well. Faf du Plessis obviously contributing. So I see Shane Watson is the only possibility to be sacrificed to bring Imran Tahir in. You agree, Pommy?
Only? I don't think so. I don't know if he's the only place they would change. I know that Sam Curran has done well, and I'd have him in my team, particularly from what he's showed and from what we know in the way that he goes. I think, however, in thinking about, what do you need where and what do you need more where, and that's what's going to decide it. In terms of bowling, I can see somewhere along the line where both those spinners, Piyush Chawla and Imran Tahir, would play in MS Dhoni's side. Now, that's dependent on what they think when they turn up at a surface. Are they playing on one that's new? Are they playing on one that's been played on before and has been a little bit on the slow side? I think you can go with both of them. They're not going to drop Faf du Plessis, I don't think, because he's got runs in the couple of games that that they have played. So it always is. It's down the bottom at the bowling where you can fill in. I think that they would be doing all their shifts and their changes.
Hyderabad, maybe not so many headaches, certainly performing decently as well. Let's have a look at their squad. You've got a couple of big men in Jason Holder and Billy Stanlake, who are just basically holding up the doors of the dressing room for the moment. Not much else to do. But, the one question that they'll have to answer once they have managed to get those combinations right, Kane Williamson, Manish Pandey, who goes in at number 3?
I think they can play it by ear as it goes along. But I think it's just the team setup just looks so much better with Kane Williamson in. I think it looks more settled. I think everyone in the team feels like it's the right decision. And it is another balancing act, much like the Chennai situation, where they have to do it, and they've decided to go on the batting side of things. And I think it's not the bad option. The only change I would make, I think also after winning the last game, stick with what you've got, try and create a little bit of momentum, try and create a bit of security in the players. Only thing as I actually thought about it the other night is, who would make a change? If they get to Sharjah, Billy Stanlake must play. He's the only bowlers that I've seen that have been effective so far on that surface is the tall guys who run in at pace, hit back of a length, and it's almost like the ball just stops in the surface and then comes up and still gets some good bounce. So I think they would consider him in Sharjah. I think that would be an option. But for tomorrow, I'm saying stick with your combination. I'm happy.
Interesting
just a point on Sunrisers Hyderabad is that so many teams tend to look at other teams in trying to create the makeup of their own team. And this is in relation to Kane Williamson and what he brings. Now, just because you don't have a guy who hits it out the ground and hits all these big hits and is a big, he's a smasher, doesn't mean that he's not effective. He knows he's not going to try and turn himself into one of those. He just isn't one of those. But what he is particularly effective in the middle with his deflections, and he finds a way to get things going. If you look at his numbers, actually, they're decent numbers as far as, and it doesn't matter where you bat him, whether you ask him to start up top, which they have done before, whether you want him to bat at 3, whether you want him to bat at 4, and he'll come in and he'll play the situation to the best of his ability. Now, Sunrisers, when going well, don't need you, as they showed the other day, and if conditions allow, they don't need to get 180, 190. They can play and get what they feel is okay on the day, and if they bowl decently enough, generally will defend. They're a better defending side, and Kane solidifies the middle, and he makes them play with their heads rather than with emotion.